This video is about Maga, or Make America Great Again. America is currently supplying Israel with bombs, and the IDF, the military force of Israel, is dropping these American-made bombs on places like restaurants where people go to eat. They are dropping bombs on civilians. They are dropping bombs on families. They are targeting journalists. They have killed more than 200 journalists and counting in the last year and a half. They drop bombs on hospitals. They drop these bombs on schools. They drop these bombs on churches and mosques and other types of infrastructure. The statistics are in the neighborhood of 90 to 95% of the entire infrastructure of Gaza has been destroyed, mostly by American bombs. It's been about 2 months since any type of food or humanitarian aid has entered the Gaza Strip. Israel recently bombed a ship in the vicinity of Malta on the way to try to sneak humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip, disabling the ship. The people that were injured in this attack that you see will not receive any type of anesthesia for their injuries. And there aren't many functioning parts of any hospitals left in the Gaza Strip. So even though they survived this blast, the ones that did, may or may not make it afterwards. So what period of time was Donald Trump referring to when he said, "Make America Great Again"? Recently, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. had said that Trump was referring to the era of his uncle. So let's take a look and see what America was doing in the years 1961 to 1963 when his uncle John F. Kennedy was the president. We were sending quote-unquote advisors, military advisors, to South Vietnam, meddling in their civil war at the time. There was the Bay of Pigs, which was a failed invasion led by the CIA of the country of Cuba, which is about 90 miles south of the state of Florida, which led to the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962 that almost caused a world conflict. The U.S. officially did not recognize the country of China during that time, causing more diplomatic tensions. These are statements regarding the island of Diego Garcia, which I will cover in a future video, but it was pretty much the planning of removing the people of Diego Garcia and replacing them with a military base, more specifically a joint United States-United Kingdom airfield to use as a launching point for future conflicts around the area of the Indian Ocean. There are conflicts with North Korea stemming from what at that time had been a period of armistice after the Korean War of the 1950s. Obviously, there was high tension with the Soviet Union and the United States at this time. And during JFK's presidency, he hosted a dictator in Indonesia that turned out to commit, which led to the dictator, when he was in power, his rule led to a genocide in Indonesia. But he was a guest of the United States in the early 1960s. So was this the time when America was great? Meddling in other countries' businesses, in their elections, sending military advisors, which led to the draft of the Vietnam War, which was on the other side of the planet as the United States. When you look up this, I thought this was funny. 1961 in Israel, it shows the conversion from dollars to shekels. Back during this time, the Israelis committed a massacre against 5 teenage boys. You can pause the video and read, but I'm not going to say what happened. But it was a terrible, terrible crime. It was sick along the lines of serial killers. But it wasn't the first time, and it won't be the last time. It hasn't been the last time that something like this has happened. This was about 13 years after the creation of the State of Israel, which is where Palestine is. So, of course, Israel was a country created in Palestine. So, in America, during this time, in certain states and certain cities, especially in the southeast part of the United States, there were people that were separated and segregated because of the color of their skin. And this led to civil rights movements to protest these policies. For instance, Black people in America had to drink from different water fountains than white people. They had to use different restrooms. Their kids had to go to different schools. This policy continued, especially the segregation of the schools, into the 1970s. But in this particular time, there were protests, some of them led by Martin Luther King. And during these protests, as you can see in these pictures, the police and firefighters literally sprayed these people with hoses, and they unleashed police dogs on them for protesting their human rights. So, is this the time period that America was great? Is this how we want to make America great again?